And these drawer runners are quite special. They are push to open, as you can see, and they're made by a company called Accuride, and they're probably about the best on the market today. Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the new Brit workshop. We're continuing the construction of the TV cabinet. Now, up until now, I've used cheap and cheerful drawer runners for my various workbenches in the workshop, and including the mobile bench here. And those are all well and good, but I wanted something which was a little bit more special when it came to this hi-fi TV cabinet. Now, my whole design concept was that the various TV recorders and other components might sit inside these top two drawers, and the remote controls would work through this smoked glass. And because of that glass panel, that made positioning of a handle a little tricky. And so I had to come up with this idea of the push to open drawer runners. And I did my market research and concluded that I needed runners from Accuride. And they're a big company, worldwide company with a great reputation. And so I contacted them, and they very kindly supplied me with the drawer runners which I've used for this project. Now, the design of the drawers was very easy to take account of the runners. All you need to do is to ensure that the body of the drawer is narrower than the front of the drawer by the thickness of the runner. And Accuride provide, and you can get this directly from their website, you don't even need to make a purchase. They provide engineering drawings of all of their drawer runners. And so even at the design stage, before you've committed yourself to purchasing an item, you can actually start doing your drawings based on those measurements. And my drawer runners are 12.7 millimeters thick. So I've actually called that 13 millimeters, and that's worked perfectly well. And the key thing you want to avoid when you're making drawers with drawer runners is racking. And racking is when, if you try and move the drawer from side to side, as I'm doing now, you get movement. You don't want to have any side to side movement. And the way to avoid that is to make sure that everything is constructed nice and square. Well, Festool will help you there. And also to ensure that the dimensions and the allowance for the drawer runner at the side is as close to the precise thickness of the drawer runner itself as you can get it. Now, these are the 3832TR. They've got a load capacity of 45 kilograms. And you can get them in various lengths, and mine are relatively short. They're only 40 centimeters. Now, you may recall when we were making the framework up that I put a center line through these rails which are used to hold the drawer runners. And that's because that center line is also the center line for the drawer runners. And it's going to make this stage now a lot easier. Now, from the plan that I've drawn up, I can work out that the distance from the bottom of the drawer to that center line is 65 millimeters. However, you may recall I took a skim off these side pieces here before I assembled the drawers, so I'm allowing a millimeter for that, so therefore it's 64 millimeters from there. And this is where I now use my trusty Incra Precision T rule to really get a nice accurate line at the 64 millimeter point. Now, with most runners of this sort of design, they come apart very easily. You just turn them over and you'll see a little plastic catch here. You just push down on the plastic catch and keep pulling on this piece and it comes apart. To reinstate the two, you simply introduce this part back into the other and keep pushing, and there it is, back where it should be. Right, so we have our centre line. All we've got to decide now is where this is fitted along that centre line. And again, from my drawings, I know that I need to have a small gap here, and the reason for that is that we've got to have an allowance for the drawer front to be pushed in in order to release it, and also I want the drawer fronts to be a fraction below the surface of the front frame. So I end up with a 3.5mm requirement, and so I'm using a 3.5mm drill bit to position that. And now all I need to do is look through the holes in this part of the slide mechanism, make sure it's lined up with the centre, and then I can mark the absolute position of the holes. Now, one of the really nifty things about these particular runners from Accuride is that they've got adjustment built into them. I've put two screws in, one here and one here. Now, you may be able to see this screw-headed portion here, and that's an adjuster. I can loosen that off, and that then allows this end to be moved a little bit up or down by about 2mm in either direction, so that you can do that final bit of adjustment, and that's really super. And when it's in the right place, you just screw that tight, and that leaves your screw in exactly the place that you put it. You don't alter the screw at all. The screw stays there. So this adjustment is built into this part of the mechanism. Well, I've done both parts on the drawer. Now we need to fit the main part of the runner inside the frame. And for this I'm going to be using these 6mm Euro screws, and these are about 10mm long, and they go through the larger holes that you see like so. And the advantage of them is that they have very small heads, and so any part of any mechanism that might pass by will not interfere with, or be interfered with by those screws. And in order to get the pilot hole for these screws drilled, Festool have a very nice centering gadget which makes the whole process so simple. All you have to do is to offer up the slide in the place that you want it, and then you just locate the hole, drill, and it's as simple as that. Have a look. Now, the first thing I need to do is to get the mechanism offered up and held in the right place. Now, I'm using now this centre mark here, which I need to have at the centre line of the holes, and I've got a couple of these little clamps which are going to help me. There it is in position, held firmly enough with these two little spring clamps. Now, my design requires that this frame is all the way at the back. So there it is, I've got it held there by those spring clamps, and my instruction tells me that I have to put a screw near the front here and a screw at about that point there, which is about 2/3 of the way back. So I've got my drill set up, and I'm just going to drill the front one first and fix it. And I'll put that front screw in. That's that. Now put the rear one in. And that's that one done. Right, so that's both of these done, so I can now test it. Now remember, these drawers, or the fronts of the drawers rather, are absolutely tight on the frame, so I'm not expecting it to be an instant perfect fit. Tiny bit high at the front. Well, I know how I can adjust that. I've given those a very slight trim around the edges. I expected to do that. Remember that they were a tight fit before, and now they operate as they should. They do need a fine sand. Well, that will come later, but you can see that's the way they're going to operate. Now, of course, the top ones are a little bit more complicated because the drawer fronts are hinged. The basic principle of fixing the slide mechanisms of the upper drawers is very much the same. The complication of these comes when we come to put the fronts on, but that's a separate process. Now, from my drawings, I've calculated that the centre line on the drawer that matches the centre line in the frame for the runners is 50 millimetres above this bottom edge. So I'm going to mark those up now. Now, we don't quite have the luxury of the rear part of the front of the drawer to get our distance right this time. But the excellent drawings which are supplied by Accuride, which you can see on their website for all of their products, shows the distance from this front edge to the centre of that first hole as being 17.8 millimetres. And before, I wanted a gap of 3.5 millimetres from this front edge. So 3.5 and 17.8 is 21.3. Now my super duper Incra Precision T rule can mark to the nearest quarter of a millimetre. So I'm going to put a mark from this front edge at the 21.25 point. So there's my mark at 21.25, and I'm now going to make a little indent there so it's easy to spot, and now I can put this screw in and it should be absolutely spot on. Well, that's in place, and I can check this now, and lo and behold, it's actually just a fraction over 3.5. But I think that ought to be all right. And so there are our two upper drawer frames in and working as they should be.